Hi, my name is Taylor. For my essay, I wanted to give you a brief summary about organized crime and also talking about two major crime gangs that I find very important, the Bloods and the Crips. So, so today in our world, I feel like people are not really paying attention and have their focus on what's really important and like what's going on in our world and like what's hurting people and stuff like that. So I put this quote in that I liked. According to the FBI, they defined organized crime as any group having some manner of a formalized structure and whose primary objective is to obtain money through illegal activities, such as maintaining their position through the use of actual or threatened violence, corrupt public officials, craft, or extortion, and generally having a significant impact on the people in their local region or the country as a whole. And meaning like anyone that's really like actually like extremely hurting people in the world and not giving and not caring. Organized crimes, like, they take on activities such as loan sharking, bookmaking, assault, burglary, robbery, bank robbery, attempted murder, etc. And this is a huge impact on younger kids because I feel like once you start at a young age, it can affect your whole life perspective. Like it can affect the life decisions you make. And so like I feel like when you're young, you start with the easy stuff. Like I said like when you move up the crime ladder, you start stealing cars, you start selling drugs on the street and stuff like that for other people. And another quote that I mentioned was, organization emerges as the most important factor associated with general delinquency involved in violence and in drug supply offensive, significantly reducing the effect of gang membership on delinquency. And I thought this was a good quote because, again, with the youngsters starting off young, it like shows like the crime bosses, like who's in charge, what they're capable of, and like what they want to do, and where they're leading in life. I feel like just starting off wrong, like that's how you're introduced into crime, organized crime gangs. So this is where I talk more about organized crimes, and this is where like I give you a brief summary. So there's not a specific right answer. There's not one major definition to what it means, but it does. According to the book, enforcement agencies and researchers came to a conclusion on attributes to like what gives them the signs that you're involved in illegal organized crime. And I just want to give a brief summary on those. So one is absences of political goals, meaning like your main goal was money and power. And that's really just what you want in life and what you're willing to do in order to get that. Two is hierarchy, which is an organized crime being structured and arranged to what one's importance is. I got from the book, I used central command, controller, and then cell. The central command oversees oversees and coordinates operations through the controllers. Controllers are responsible for overall operations of the several cells within a region. The controller reports to Central Command via cell phone or email. Cells operate independently with a geographic area, not knowing members of other cells, reporting back to the controller. So this is the levels of how you deal with organized crime. So it's Central Command, controller, and then cell. Moving on to the third one, limited or exclusive membership. This is really just about what you need, the basic qualifications to become and make it into the group. Moving on to the fourth one, constitute a unique subculture, which is viewing yourself, you view yourself in different ways, but your main goal is the same as others. 5 is perpetrates itself. I said having a secret plan that is unlawful and can harm those around you, but doesn't affect you. And you're still continue doing it. So really not caring about others. 6 is willingness to use illegal violence. This is obvious. If you're in an illegal organized crime, obviously you have to use illegal violence. Because, how are you going to achieve and, get what you want if you don't use illegal violence in an illegal organized crime? 7 is monopolistic, which is not wanting other competition. You really just want a free trade zone. Last one is governed by rules and regulation, which is having a set of rules and regulations to for having the members to obey. And so I feel listing these attributes are what you have to do in order to achieve your goal in the organized crime. Moving on to juveniles. I talked about juveniles and them starting everything in the organized crime. So I believe they're more experienced because they've been in trouble, they've been through prison and know what it's like. So they're always looking for new blood to take in their gang, their organized gang. And one major effect that I feel they have potential of, or in achieving by bringing in new members, is young ones who are not being watched by their guardians. And so I think that those parents that bring in low income are the reason why, meaning because they work long hours and they work every day of the week and mostly on the weekends, and so they're not always watching their kids. They don't know what they're doing while they're at work. A quote that I said was, "The understanding of gang members, gangs, and the behavior of their members can benefit from the life course perspective as it examines explanations for why adolescents join, persist, and desist from their involvement in gangs." This is basically easy for juveniles, for the crime bosses to get to the young ones and force them into their gang and just informing them what they do. And so for their parents not to be there, I feel they don't know what's right and what's wrong. Another thing that can that youngsters might think is once they're let in, they're known as like a second family. The gang's a second family to them, meaning as in they will always have their back if they're ever in trouble with anyone. And I don't feel like this is good, because there's harm being involved. Along with the second family, the gang also offered psychological support in engendering a positive self-image, a sense of belonging, and in return receiving absolute loyalty. And I mean, that's self-explained, because again, they'll always have each other's back and everything. So eventually, I feel like the youngsters will look up to the older members, like who've been in the gang for so long and know what it's like and what they're capable of. Another thing is, it can be a tradition in families. Parents will influence kids to be in a gang, in an organized crime gang. So moving on to my paragraph about the Bloods and the Crips, my main point of my essay. So the Bloods and the Crips I find very important, because they're the ones who, they have history with each other. They go way back. A quote I said, while most street gangs are temporary and disorganized, some have institutionalized, and a number of these show signs of evolving into more serious criminal enterprises, becoming more networked, technologically savvy, and internalized, less visible, more predatory, and sometimes more violent. The Bloods and the Crips, they both involve African American, but they're two different groups. The Blood identify themselves by the color red, while the Crips identify themselves by the color blue. And again, with what they're involved in, drug trafficking, robbery, extortion, murder, illegal gambling, prostitution, burglary, and theft. About the Bloods, they were found in 1972, while the Crips were found in 1969. Both gangs were extremely protective of each other. So, like, if one crosses one's line, they won't think twice about hurting them. So the Crips, about the Crips, they will wear everything blue. They only wear blue, the clothing, the hat, their belt, and the Bloods will wear everything red, bandana, sweaters, anything. The Crips originated the color blue from the high school known as Washington in the west of South Los Angeles, and the Bloods originate the color red from Centennial High School. And one thing that the Bloods do that disrespect the Crips is they graffiti everything, and they cross out the letter C to disrespect their name. So the Bloods and the Crips started as a small gang in Los Angeles, and now they're all across the United States. According to the the NYGC, they estimated that today there are more than 7,031 500 gangs and 21,500 different gangs in the United States. If you think about it, that's a lot compared to back then. So I personally I don't know anybody who's actually in an organized game. I've never heard personal stories. So I feel like, I know it's not good. I know I would never be involved in one. I don't see it being a glamorous lifestyle to be living in. If you think about it, like, when you're a criminal, think about what your actions can do to others. It can physically, emotionally, and maybe even financially affect them. But your actions can hurt a lot of people. So, yeah, that's it. I really decided, like, I felt like the Bloods and the Crips was very important to me, and I felt like people should know what other stuff is going on in the world. And yeah, so thank you.